All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Hachakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and who also were well. Peace and salutation to those of the hopeful elect. And I just want to do a lesson entitled Step into the Power of Faith. Step into the power of faith. All right, because faith, all right, the highest level of spiritual power is, having, you know, uh the highest level of faith. You know, that's pretty much spiritual power is the highest level of faith. So we have access, all right, to tap into the faith that Yahweh Shema Shai has given us. All right, speaking of the hopeful elect, all right, Yahweh Shema Shai gave each member, a portion of the faith. All right. And our faith, is exactly how, we're going to get through life on a day to day. All right. Let me get a quick precept. All right. This is Habakkuk 2. I'm going to start at 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." All right. So speaking of Esau, Edom, all right, the scriptures speak about Esau, as soon as they're born, they're speaking lies. All right. So his spirit is not upright in him. All right. So when Esau, Edom, he's going to eventually come down with great wrath upon, all right, the Lord's chosen people. Okay. Upon Jacob. All right. Which are the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, natives, Seminole Indians. All right. See, Esau, he hates our people. And in that time, all right, he's going to come down with great wrath. It's called Jacob's trouble. Okay. And in that time, the scriptures say, I continue to read Habakkuk 2 and 4, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." All right. So faith is powerful. All right. Because that's how, Lord's will, we part of that number. We're going to live day by day. Is strictly upon faith in who? Faith in Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. All right. In the truth. All right. The 100% truth. All right. Taught by our apostles and elders and bishops on down. All right. Of Great Millstone. All right. So that's where the faith is. It's in Yahweh Shema Shai and the truth. All right. And King David said it himself. This is Psalms 91 and 1. It says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." All right. And that secret place is this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Okay. Verse 2 says, "I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my power, in him will I trust." Okay. So that's where we put our trust, our faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, that the Lord is going to see us through the situations, or the adversities, that befalls us on a daily basis. All right. The scriptures say many are the afflictions, of the righteous, roughly paraphrasing, but the Lord delivereth them out of them all. All right. So there's a lot of things that come up, that really it is dire situations on a spiritual level. The scriptures say we war not after the flesh, so spiritual, we're battling spiritual wickedness in high places that's trying to attack our faith, ultimately wants to diminish our faith. All right. And that's how important faith is. It's because the spiritual demon Satan wants to directly attack that, your faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. and that the Lord is dealing with you, and that, you know, the Lord's will, the Lord, you know, will deliver us in a time of a trouble. That's what Satan wants to attack. All right. But, you know, again, the names of Yahweh Shema Shai, by simply having faith in the Lord, that's how we circumvent, you know, those attacks, the fiery darts of Satan. You know, what the scriptures say in Ephesians, above all, taking on the shield of faith. All right. Whereby you may be able to quench the fiery darts. So going back to Psalm 91 and 3, it says, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. It says, his truth shall be thy shield and buckler. All right, so having faith in the shield and buckler, which is the truth. You know, us having a proper understanding. You know, that the chariots, the so-called UFOs, those are IFOs, identifiable flying objects. Those are the angels. All right, or rather the vehicles that the angels ride in. All right, and we, you know, we understand, you know, the mystery of the Gentiles. All right, so like I'm on a walk right now, doing incline. You know, we understand, you know, the Lord has given us the eye salve. So, you know, the Lord is going to keep us through his wisdom. All right, but we have to have faith that Yahweh Shema Shai will do that. All right, that the Lord will be our shield and buckler in that time. Now I want to get Hebrews. This is Hebrews 11, starting at verse 1. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All right, so, you know, faith isn't anything, you know, that you can see. Just like, you know, the wind is there. All right, you can feel the wind, but you can't see it. All right, well, faith is a substance as well. All right, and you know, faith is ultimately a gift of Yahweh Shema Shai. That's what faith is. All right. So it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. All right, we hope to be on the right hand side, you know, of the Lord's prophecies. Okay, ultimately receiving salvation. It says the evidence of things not seen. All right, yeah, you know, the final outcome is yet to be seen. But while we're here, we have a lively expectation. Why? Because, you know, we're doing what Yahweh Shema Shai commanded us to do to the best of our abilities. All right, and we're putting on the elect. All right, and doing the things that the hopeful elect would do in these times in order to maximize Lord's will, you know, our lot, if we be the elect. All right. So while we're here, you know, toiling, you know, prophesying, eventually, you know, the Lord is going to put an end to that as far as, you know, the famine of the word is concerned. All right. And when the famine of the word, all right, takes place, all right, Esau, Edom shuts down the internet, or he completely wipes the truth from the internet. All right. When that time comes, it's gonna be, you know, each individual's faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, because we're not gonna be able to tap into the lessons. All right, tap into you know, the breakdowns. All right, and that's why, you know, it's an urgency to get this truth now, because there's gonna come a time soon where the Lord is gonna cause that famine of the word. All right, and then our faith is really gonna be tested. Okay, but you know, that's a good thing, because the scriptures speak about acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, man. All right. So we got to step, into the power of faith because, having faith ultimately, is what's pleasing to Yahweh Shema Shai. When our Lord Yahweh Shai was on the scene, he was pushing faith, man. All right. And when you read instances, I believe it's even Hebrews outlines it, where it goes down a list, of our forefathers and the things that the actions that they took based upon faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, and it's a very powerful thing. All right. So, we have access to that. All right. We believe in Yahweh Shema Shai. We believe, in his word. We believe in the true names of Yahweh Shema Shai. The Lord has given us a portion of his faith. All right. And, we can use, speaking of myself first and foremost, we have to, tap into the faith that the Lord has given us, which is ultimately tapping into power. All right. Because faith changes things. All right. Let me see. This is Luke chapter 17. And I'm going to start at Luke 17:5. It says, "And the apostles said unto the Lord, increase our faith. And the Lord said, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye might say unto this sycamore tree, be thou plucked up by the root, and be thou planted in the sea, and it should obey you." All right. So pretty much the mustard seed is one of the smallest seeds. All right. But when you plant it, it becomes, a very big plant, or, not technically a tree, a bush, but it pretty much grows to the size of a tree. All right. And, that represents, the faith, that the Lord has planted in each member of the elect. Some, members of the elect have a higher portion of faith. All right. Because there's levels to it. All right. And some, individuals have lesser faith, but that doesn't mean that they're not part of the elect. All right. Just like you have some believers that, you have some prophets, you got some helps. All right. So there's different portions of the faith. All right. But that faith can be grown and built upon. All right. And that's what Yahweh Shema Shai, has been exercising us, our faith from the moment since we stepped into this truth. It's been an exercise of faith. All right. Things start happening to you, unfortunate events, and you have to lean on Yahweh Shema Shai so that the Lord will work out the situation, man. And that's what the Lord is showing us more and more, which in return, when the Lord does deliver us from situations, it increases our faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. So, things with prayer, the prayer is the act of faith. Is faith being played out in, real time. You send the prayers up, and the Lord, could change things instantly, or he could change things on his own time. It could be, later on, at a prolonged period where the Lord will answer your prayers. All right. But nevertheless, the request is being made through the act of prayer, which is, faith in action. And Yahweh Shema Shai responding to that request and making it happen. That's prayer. That's power. That's power in Yahweh Shema Shai. So, if we're, dealing with situations that may seem, challenging for us, situations where, we need, because we do need help. We don't have it on our own. So, we're thankful that the Lord gave us faith. So now we know to lean on Yahweh Shema Shai, man. All right, because the Lord is the one that's in control. All right. So let me see, Lord's will. I'll get another precept and I'll close it out. Ephesians 2. Let me see, Ephesians 2 and 8. Yeah, Ephesians 2 and 8, it says, "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is a gift of Yahweh Shema Shai." So, hey, grace, faith, understanding, hey, ultimately, those that are part of the elect, man, the Lord, has covered, man. The scriptures say, blessed is the man, whom the Lord, or it says, roughly paraphrasing, not imputed iniquity. Pretty much the Lord not, because we're all, we all fall short of the glory of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, but, ultimately it's about, the Lord having mercy, man. And, that's the big thing about grace is it highlights Yahweh Shema Shai's mercy, man, that ultimately he's going to have on those that have faith in him. It says, "And that not of yourselves, it is a gift of the Most High." Verse 9, "Not of works, lest any man should boast." All right, which, works is important because when you have faith, all right, in Yahweh Shema Shai, you have, the fruits of the Spirit. There's actions that's being, motivated by the faith or fueled by the faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. So actions, all right, that's why the scriptures say ye shall be saved by, your works and by faith whereby ye have believed. All right, because the works and the faith go hand in hand. All right. But also, you can, do the work deceitfully, for filthy lucracy, but you on fire doing 1,000, videos a day. All right. Then that's of no avail. All right. But God, Lord's will, this lesson is edifying. We got to step into there's power in having faith. And a lot of times there be situations where, we have to actively apply faith in that situation and patience. Because once you apply the faith, then you have to have the patience, to go through with it. And it remind me of the scripture, Lord's will, I'll close it out on this. So like Psalms 55 and 22, it says, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." That's not the one, even though it's Yapa. I was looking for. Here it is, 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. It says, there hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful. All right, so Yahweh Shema Shai is faithful. You know, if they said they wasn't going to put too much on each member of the hopeful elect then they can handle, then that's true. The Lord is faithful to that. So it says, but the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So ultimately, Yahweh Shema Shai putting the spirit on us to be able to endure, you know, whatever we go through, the trials and tribulations that come with being in this ministry, man, being in the truth. All right. And a part of Yahweh Shema Shai, you know, getting us through these things that, you know, we're getting ready to go through in the time of Jacob's trouble, you know, the time of persecution. All right. In order for Yahweh Shema Shai, you know, to get us through these things, because he's not going to put too much on us that we can't handle. All right. Through faith is how we're going to be able to bear it. Faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. Hebrews 11 and 6, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder to them that diligently seek him. So the men of the Lord, those that have faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, are the ones that are diligently, to the best of their ability, seeking Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, and the Lord's going to reward that, you know, with the protection that's promised, man. All right. But it says, but without faith, it is impossible to please Yahweh Shema Shai. You know, so we got to, you know, especially in the times where it seemed like, you know, the Lord ain't with us, or the Lord, you know, quote, forsook us, when it may feel like that to the flesh, right? Especially in those situations, Yahweh Shema Shai is still there for us, you know, to call upon. All right. Even when the battle gets extreme, man, that's when Yahweh Shema Shai is there. That's when he's really there, you know? And that's how Yahweh Shema Shai is going to intervene. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. All right, but we have to have faith that the standard will be lifted, spiritual power. All right, going back to the beginning of the lesson, you know, it's the highest form of faith, you know, where it's a certain state, a mind state to be in, where you can command, you can move the elements pretty much. All right, you can manipulate things in the physical realm. All right, all through the faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, and that's the type of power that the Lord is building up his elect, you know, to receive in these times. All right, because there is going to be men with spiritual power. All right, walking around in the earth. All right, and it's going to be in the name of Yahweh Shema Shai. So, Lord's will, I want to say, call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai B'Shem Kakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and who also rule well. Peace and salutation of those of the hopeful elect. Shalom and above.